Notis
Vidurnoti Sahasratam
Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu
Ashtaprayesha Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhavati Naistiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
Naya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya
Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Nanda Gopakumaraya
Nanda
Nanda
Gopa
Gopa
Kumaraya
Kumaraya
Daya Namo Namaha.
Govindaya
Govindaya
Namo
Namo
Namaha.
So we are beginning 15th chapter with the Pandavas retire timely. Canto 1, 15th chapter. So in the last chapter, if you all remember, Mr. Maharaj, in the last section, Yudhishthira Maharaj was inquiring with Arjuna about Lord Krishna and his family members, relatives, all the details he inquired. And finally, he inquired whether the Lord who has saved all of us, has he disappeared? Has he departed from the world? That was a thing in his mind as a doubt, but he doesn't want to express it. He wished something else was the reason for his moroseness. Arjuna was very morose. As soon as he came, he just collapsed. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was inquiring for his despondency. He offered various reasons. Arjuna was not able to collect himself, neither he could speak a word. He finally asked the question that he never wanted to ask, that is, whether Lord Krishna departed from the world. So now Arjuna starts speaking. He starts expressing his strong feelings in the first 6 verses of separation from Krishna. So he expresses about Lord Krishna's departure, and he expresses his strong feelings of separation from Krishna. See this as how an affectionate devotee sees his connection with the Lord. Right? This section clearly shows, we understand what a devotee Arjuna is through this section. And in the second section, Arjuna recalls all the favors that Lord did, not only to him, but to Pandavas, or in general to his devotees. It is a very, very touching section. So these 2 sections we'll cover today. Okay, so we'll start with verses. Can I see the text clearly?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Suta uvacha
Sutra
evam Krishna sakha Krishna
Evam Krishna Sakha Krishna
bhartra rajna vikalpita
Kalpita
nana sankaspadam rupam
Nana Shankaspadam Rupam
Krishna vishlesha karshita.
Krishna
Krishna
Vishlesha
Vishlesha
Karshita.
Karshita. Suta Goswami said, Arjuna, the celebrated friend of Lord Krishna, was grief-stricken because of his strong feelings of separation from Krishna, over and above all Maharaj Yudhishthira's speculative inquiries.
Yeah, Sri Krishna Vishlesha Karshita. Karshita means very sad, bereaved. Vislesha means separated. Krishna Vishlesha Karshita means painful situation. Arjuna was feeling that strong separation from Krishna. During this time, Yudhishthira Maharaj was asking so many speculative questions, all related to various things around Krishna. So that made Arjuna very morose. Nana Sankashpadam Rupam Krishna Vishlesha Karshitaha. Yudhishthira's Vikalpita, speculative questions. Sokena Shushad Vadana
Sukena Sushyadvadana
Sarojo Hata Prabha
Kritasarojo Hataprabha
Vibhum Tam Evanusmaran
Vibhumtam Evanusmaran
Nashaknot Pratibhashitum.
Nasakno Pratibhashitum.
Due to grief, Arjuna
Yeah, go ahead. Can't hear you, Mataji. Or can anybody else read?
Due to grief, Arjuna's mouth and lotus-like heart had dried up. Therefore, his body lost all luster. Now, remembering the Supreme Lord, he could hardly utter a word in reply.
So just like in the battlefield, Arjuna was totally aghast and dried up. Again, now it is because of the separation from Krishna, right? Sokena Shushad Vadana. He is not able to speak. His mouth is dried up. Shokena, because of bereavement or separation from Krishna. Hrit Saroja Hata Prabha. His heart is like lotus. Why? Anybody want to say why? Arjuna's heart is like lotus. Like lotus. Because he always remembers who? Krishna. And Krishna, lotus represents Krishna actually. So lotus like heart. Because in his heart always Krishna resides. That is the residence of Krishna. And so that's why it's called lotus-like heart. Hritsaroja Hata Prabha Vibhumtam Evanusmaran Nana Shaknot Pratibhashitum. Yeah, thinking within, he could not reply properly. Yeah, because he was continuously remembering Krishna. So when we don't have attachment to Krishna, we won't feel any support. When somebody passes away in your community, you may not be so distressed. But if it happens to your own family member, because of your affection for the person, you feel that pain in your heart, right? So for a devotee like Arjuna, who is so attached to Krishna, this is unbearable pain to lose the association of Supreme Lord. So his, we can see here, right? His body lost all luster. Right? Remembering the Supreme Lord, he could hardly utter a word in reply. He couldn't speak a single word. Krichrena samstabhyasucha
Krichrena Samtabhyatu
paninamrijya netrayo
Panina Mriya Netrayo
parokshena samadha
Parokena Samanadha
pranayau kantakya katara.
Pranayo Kantya
With great difficulty, he checked the tears of grief that smeared his eyes. He was very distressed because Lord Krishna was out of his sight, and he increasingly felt affection for him.
So generally, we hear this saying, right? Out of sight, out of mind. With many people, when they are out of sight, we just forget about them. But in case of Krishna for Arjuna, the more he is out of his sight, the more remembrance is coming to Arjuna. So that's why it's mentioned pranayautam takya katara. So eagerly thinking of affection, he was distressed. Right? So he had received so much affection from Lord. He is going to speak about those in the next several verses. It's a very, very touching slokas, next several verses. Sakhim maitrim sahridam cha
Sakyam Maitrim
Sahridam cha
sadhyadishu samasmaran
Sadhyadishu samsmaran
Akshadishu samasmar.
agarja itiyaha
Nripam agrajam
ashpagadya gira
Gadgadaya gira.
Remembering Lord Krishna and his well-wishes, benefactions, intimate family relations, and his chariot driving, Arjuna, overwhelmed and breathing very heavily, began to speak.
Sakyam. Arjuna was a friend of Lord Krishna. Maitrim. So while being a friend, Arjuna also acted as a servant. So when there is a mixture of friendship with dasya, that is Maitrim. Sahridam means when there is friendship with affection. Affection means more like a parental affection, right? Sahridam. So all these feelings were there between Arjuna and Krishna. Saradhyadishu, as becoming chariot driver, Krishna, right? So he was remembering all these memories with Krishna. Yeah, please read.
Sri Arjuna is one of the typical devotees of the Lord, reciprocating in fraternal relationship, and the Lord's dealing with Arjuna are displays of friendship of the highest perfect order. He was not only a well-wisher of Arjuna, but actually a benefactor. And to make it still more perfect, the Lord tied him into a family relationship by arranging Subhadra's marriage with him.
There is also a family relation because of Arjuna's marriage to Subhadra. Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna
Vanchitoham Maharaja
Vanchitoham Maharaja
Rina Bandhurupina
Harina
Bandhurupina.
Yena me pahritam tejo
Yena me Pahritam Tejo
Eva Vismapanam Mahat.
Deva Vismapanam Mahat.
Arjuna.
Yeah, please. read.
Arjuna said, O king, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me.
Vanchito Aham Maharaja. Vanchita means in a way like it's cheated. I am cheated. Vanchita. I'm Vanchito Aham Maharaja. Maharaja is referring to Yudhishthira Maharaj. I was left over by Lord Krishna. Harina Bandhurupina. The one Hari, the Supreme Lord, who is my intimate friend. So these are words of affection coming out of Arjuna's mouth. Yename Pakhritam Tejo. Once he left, all my powers left with him. those powers that even astonished devas, great devas. Deva Vishma Panam Mahad, the greatest demigods were astonished by my prowess. Now they are no more with me because everything is gone with Krishna. So I think the point to learn from all these verses is Arjuna very clearly understands that all that power that he was having is exclusively because of the mercy of Lord Krishna. A devotee doesn't need any powers or skills to go back to Godhead. When Krishna gives those powers or special abilities, the only purpose is to serve Krishna. So Arjuna very well understands this aspect. So now he is attributing whatever he had to him. That is how a devotee always conducts himself. Whatever he has is exclusively for the service of the Lord, and he uses only for the service of the Lord. Yeah, please read this.
No one, therefore, can be independently powerful in any measure without being endowed by the Lord.
Yeah, this is Mama Tejamsa Sambhavat, right? This is 1041. Oops. Okay, I lost that. Okay. Yajjat vibhuti matsattvam Srimad ujjitam evacha tattat evan gachatvam mama tejamsa sambhavam. So everything comes. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from a spark of my splendor. What is this? Yeah, please read this.
The power and energy which were bestowed upon Arjuna were required for fulfillment of the mission of the Lord. But when his mission was fulfilled, the emergency powers were withdrawn from Arjuna because the astounding powers of Arjuna, which were astonishing even to the denizens of heaven, were no longer required, and they were not meant for going back home, back to Godhead. If endowment of powers and withdrawal of powers by the Lord are possible even for a great devotee like Arjuna, or even the demigods in heaven, then what to speak of the ordinary living beings who are but figs compared to such great souls. The lesson is, therefore, that no one should be puffed up by his powers borrowed from the Lord. The sane man should rather feel obliged to the Lord for such benefactions and must utilize such power for the service of the Lord. Such power can be withdrawn at any time by the Lord. So the best use of such power and opulence is to engage them in the service of the Lord.
So when somebody has some power, some whatever he has, you should understand, or even they should understand, that it is only because Lord has temporarily bestowed, and he can withdraw any moment. We have seen in so many cases. Sometimes people are very powerful, and in no time they will lose everything. Right? So it's possible, like one can lose everything. So what we should understand is everything is meant for the service of Krishna. That is the true purpose of it. If it is not used, then it's not meeting its real purpose. And Lord can take away anything from anybody anytime. Right? So better use everything for the service of Lord. Yashakshana viyogena loko hi apriya darshana utkena rahito hyesha mritaka prochate yata.
I have just lost him, whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life.
Yeah, so he's saying like this. He's very morose. Yeah, continue on this.
As the living beings is the important factor in the material body, for without the living being, the material body has no value. Similarly, without the Paramatma, the living being has no status quo. Similarly, Brahman or Paramatma has no locus standi without the Supreme Lord Krishna.
So Lord is like Paramatma of the universe. When Lord left, the universe are rendered unfavorable. It's like body without life. That is how a devotee sees. Yes, samsraya drupada geham upagatanam rajam swayam varamukhe smaraturmadhanam tejo hritam khalu mayabhi hatascha matsya sajjikritena dhanusha gata cha krishna. So from verse 7 to 17, he specifically quotes various incidents from his own life or life of Pandavas on how Lord Krishna protected them at every stage. Right? Now he is talking about, how he was, how he got the hand of Draupadi in the court of Drupada. So let's read this.
Only by his merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. With my bow and arrow, I could pierce the fish target and thereby gain the hand of Draupadi.
So Prabhupada explains the whole story. So in each of these instances, Prabhupada expands into the full story. The main point is, so we can learn from Arjuna how, as a devotee, one should see everything in the right perspective. How whatever we have is because of the kind mercy of the Lord, right? Only by his merciful strength. So if you look at the act of Arjuna gaining the hand of Draupadi, it appears like sheer skill of Arjuna that by which he achieved. But Arjuna, who is the real skill man, he really doesn't think it is by his own strength he got the hand of Draupadi. So we should understand, the mindset of a devotee, pure devotee. He gives 100% all credit to Krishna. With my bow and arrow, I could pierce the fish target, thereby gain the hand of Draupadi. Only by merciful strength by his merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada. Yeah. Now you will go on quoting various incidents. Yat sannidhanav ahamu khandavam agnayedham gram cha samara tarasha vidnyatya.
मित्रं च सामरगुणं वरसा विद्या
लब्धा सभामया कृताद्भुतशिल्पमाया
लब्धा सभा मया कृता
दिग्भ्यो हरनृपतयो अध्वरेते
दिग्भो हरन्नृपतयो बलिं वरेते।
Please read.
Because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Khandav forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Khandav forest, and thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yagya and paid you tributes.
So he is now attributing the Khandava forest that was given to Pandavas by Kauravas, which is a barren land, practically with nothing, which they converted into beautiful palace. And in that whole incident, the forest was being burnt, and there lived a Maya Danava who was a demon. He is also the architect in the lower planets, in Atala Sutala planets. So he was living there at the time, and he was Lord actually intended to kill him, but Arjuna saves him. And because of that, Mayadano becomes very grateful to Arjuna. And he offers to build this palace in Khandava forest. And in fact, Arjuna did not want Mayadano to build it. He didn't do for expecting any favor from Mayadana. But Lord felt it is okay, it is okay to build it. And upon Lord's order, Arjuna accepts, and Mayadana builds this very special palace in Khandava, Prastha, which later on will be used as the place for performing Rajasuya Yajna by Pandavas, which astonishes everybody who visits there. That's where Duryodhana gets offended. So the whole thing is orchestrated. Even his dexterity in impressing demigods is also described. He defeats the demigods as well, Arjuna, and Arjuna attributes all of this simply to Krishna. Yeah, please read this, Prabhu.
The demons possesses wonderful and supernatural powers to create material wonders, but they are always disturbing elements of the society. The modern demons are the harmful material scientists who create some material wonders for disturbance in the society. For example, the creation of nuclear weapons has caused some panic in human society. Mai was also a materialist like that, and he knew the art of creating such wonderful things. And yet, Lord Krishna wanted to kill him. When he was chased both by the fire and by the will of the Lord Krishna, he took shelter of such devotee as Arjun, who saved him from the wrath of fire of Lord Sri Krishna. Devotees who are therefore more merciful than the Lord, and in devotional service, the mercy of the devotee is more valuable than the mercy of the Lord. Both the fire and the Lord ceased from chasing the demon as soon as both of them saw that the demon was given a shelter by such a devotee as Arjun. This demon, feeling obliged to Arjun, wanted to do some service to show his gratefulness, but Arjun declined to accept anything from him in, in, in exchange. Lord Sri Krishna, however, being pleased with Mai for his taking shelter of a devotee, asked him to render service unto King Yudhishthir by building a wonderful assembly house. The process is that by the grace of the devotee, the mercy of the Lord is obtained. And by the mercy of the Lord, a chance to serve the Lord's devotee is obtained. The club of Bhimsena was also a gift of Maidana.
So Mayadana. Lord was pleased with Mayadanava. Why? Because he took shelter on a devotee, Arjuna. So just by taking shelter of a devotee, Lord is pleased. So the opposite is also true. If somebody angers a devotee or tries to humiliate or tries to offend a devotee, what happens? Lord
Ambarish story.
Yeah, Ambarish story is there. So many stories. Prahlad's story is also there.
Yeah.
Lord is never pleased. The story of so many stories within Mahabharata where Lord is upset, right? Whenever, even whether it's demon or devotee who tries to offend another devotee, Lord doesn't tolerate. Like Durvasa's story, right?
Yes.
When he tried to go to Pandavas to ask for.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So many such pastimes. So even if you are a demon, but if you take shelter of a devotee, Lord is pleased. Wow. You see, Lord is a special consideration for devotees. Tejasa nipashiro righim ahan Aryanujastav gajayu tatasthatva virya Tena hrita pramata natamakhaya bhupa Yanmodhitastadarenam balim adhavarete Please read.
Your respectable younger brother, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace Jarasandha, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandha's Mahabhairava Yajna, but they were thus released. Later, they paid tribute to your majesty.
Yeah, so he is now here referring to who? Bhimsen, who has the strength of 10,000 elephants. Killed by whose grace? Krishna's grace only. Whom he killed? Jarasandha. He killed Jarasandha. Bhima killed Jarasandha by the trick shown by Krishna. Right? And Jarasandha, at the time, actually, when he was killed, he actually kept many kings of various small kingdoms around there in his in his jail, so that he can offer all of them in Mahabhairava Yajna. So he wanted to offer all of them alive, kill them as an offering to this. He's a devotee of Lord Shiva, and he wanted to offer all of them in Balidam. So they were all protected, and so they all paid tributes to Pandavas. In that way, their respect has increased, because all these kings who were held in captive by Jarasandha, as soon as they were released by this, support of Lord Krishna and, a prowess of Bhima, they all became subservient to Pandavas naturally. So they all later paid tribute to Pandavas, or specifically Yudhishthira Maharaj. So the story of Jara, the demon Jara was explained here. The demon and how she got, the birth of Jarasandha and yeah. Patnaya tavadhikamaklipa Ipta Mahameka Slagishtacharu Kabaram Kita Vai Sabhayam Spishtam Vikirya Padayo Patita Shrumukya
Prushtam Vikirya Padayo
Yastastriyo Kita Hatesha Vimukta Kesha
Yatsashriyo
It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants, who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes.
So Draupadi, her hair was touched by Dussasana. And as part of this Kurukshetra war, Dussasana and also a lot of other brothers who supported Dussasana to insult Draupadi. And all these people were killed as part of Kurukshetra war. So now he was just remembering that incident. It was he, Krishna, only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants, who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair. Right? Loosened the hair means basically all those queens lost their husbands. Right? At that time, she fell down at the feet of Krishna with tears in her eyes. So the devotee, Draupadi is a pure devotee of Lord, and she took shelter of Krishna at the time when she was in great danger. As soon as that happened, immediately, later on Kurukshetra war. So that was the incident, the prime cause for Kurukshetra war, as per historians. So that was the reason for, because of the insult of Draupadi. That was the prime. So one should never take chances with pure devotees, right? So what happens if one hurts a pure devotee is mentioned here. Ayushriyam yashodharmam lokan ashisha evacha hanti shreyamsi sharvani humso mahad atikramaha. Humso mahad atikramaha means mahad atikramaha. Mahad means great devotee, right? As and when one trespasses great personality, what all goes down? Ayuhu, one's duration of life. Shriyam, one's beauty. Yasha, one's name and fame. Dharmam, one's religion, right? Lokan, the ability to go to other higher planets, right? Ashisha evacha, blessings, all of these things will be gone in their life. So if one tries to insult superiors, this is the thing that happens to them. So that's what happened. Draupadi is a pure devotee, and these guys did the mistake of touching her hair and insulting her. And what happened? Ayuhu is gone for them. Their name, fame, religion, everything is gone. My dear king, when a man persecutes great souls, all his benedictions of longevity, beauty, fame, religion, blessings, and promotion to higher planets will be destroyed. This is what happened. So one should be very careful when we deal with our superiors, especially spiritually advanced devotees whom we have taken shelter of, like spiritual masters or senior devotees. Yeah. So please read this.
In other words, all the wives of the Kuru family became widows because of Dushasana's insulting a great devotee of the Lord. The Lord can tolerate insults upon himself by any miscreant because the father tolerates even insults from the son, but he never tolerates insults upon his devotees. By insulting a great soul, one has to forgo all the results of pious acts and benedictions also.
So one knows. Jonu Jugopavane Chaturam Takrichrat. Durvasasori Rachita Ayutagra Bhugya. Kannasishtam upayujya yathastrilokim. Tam amanta salile vinimagna sangha.
During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food, thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied.
So this is the story of Durvasa Muni. So when Durvasa Muni comes with his, he actually intrigued with our enemies, right? So Durvasa Muni intrigued with Kauravas, right, to put us in dangerous trouble. So they came with a plan to put Pandavas in trouble. So at that time, Lord intervened in the situation, and by simply accepting remnants of food, Lord saved Pandavas. So as soon as Lord accepted, so all these Durvasa Muni's disciples, they all went to the river to take a bath and get ready for lunch, come back and have lunch. So as soon as they went, at the time Lord came and he just ate a small remnant of food that was left in the Akshay Patra. With that, everybody felt sumptuously fed. They didn't feel any more hunger. So at that time, Bhimsen goes there to call them all for lunch. Looking at Bhimsen, they all got afraid and they all ran away from there. They didn't even dare to visit Pandavas anymore in their residence. They all bid farewell right there and left right from the place where they were taking bath. So the story of Durvasa Muni, Prabhupada in each story, in each verse explains the entire story.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, so in this case, Durvasa Muni kind of colludes with Kauravas to make this happen, this situation.
Yeah, looks like from the at least the translation, at least Arjuna's understanding is that. So intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous for them.
I mean, first time I'm I'm hearing this dimension of experience.
Yeah, that's what.
Also, Prabhu, Durvasa Muni cursed Duryodhana as well, right? Before he leaves the place. So that because he realizes his mistake.
Yeah. See here it mentions, right? He had about 10,000 disciples, and wherever he visited and became a guest of the great Kshatriya kings, he used to be accompanied by number of followers. Once he visited the house of Duryodhana, the enemy cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Duryodhana was intelligent enough to satisfy the Brahmana by all means, and the great Rishi wanted to give some benediction to Duryodhana. Duryodhana knew his mystic powers, and he knew all the mystic Brahmana, that the mystic Brahmana, if dissatisfied, could cause some havoc. It is primarily the plot of Duryodhana only. Thus, he designed to engage the Brahmana to show his wrath upon his enemy cousins, the Pandavas. When the Rishi wanted to award some benediction to Duryodhana, the latter wished that he should visit the house of Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the eldest and chief among all of his cousins. Because he gave the benediction, he just misutilized, Duryodhana. He just misused.
Duryodhana's plan.
Only then. So it's just that, because of the benediction, Durvasa Muni was locked into fulfilling that request. But by his request, he would go to him after he had finished his meals with his queen, Draupadi. Now, when Rishi wanted to award somebody, that should visit Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the eldest and chief among all his cousins. But by his request, he would go to him after he had finished his meals with his queen, Draupadi. Duryodhana knew that after Draupadi's dinner, it would be impossible for Maharaj Yudhishthira to receive such a large number of Brahmana guests, and thus the Rishi would be annoyed and would create some trouble for his cousin, Maharaj Yudhishthira. That was the plan of Duryodhana. Durvasa Muni agreed to this proposal, and he approached the king in exile according to the plan of Duryodhana. After the king and Draupadi had finished their meals. So it means he was at least aware of the plan.
Correct.
At least purport is clearly saying that. Yeah, please read this.
When the devotees are put into difficulty, they have an opportunity to recollect the Lord with rapt attention. So Draupadi was thinking of Lord Krishna in that dangerous position, and the all-pervading Lord could at once know the dangerous position of his devotee.
So devotees have no other shelter. They take shelter of Krishna in dangerous situations like that. And immediately Draupadi took shelter. So Duryodhana is always misses the Krishna part. In all his plans, he tries to arrest Krishna because he never understood Krishna, right? So Pandavas are always protected by Krishna, but he never aware. He tried to put that, house on fire, black house. That time also he was protected. So in every situation he was protected in so many dangers. But Duryodhana never understood what is happening there, really. Yeah, this is a very important line. Please read.
This incident proves that the Lord is the greatest mystic, and therefore he is known as Yogeshwara. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of the Lord's being satisfied. That is the way of devotional service.
Wow. Lord is the greatest mystic. So one should offer, ready to offer prasadam. Tejasat Bhagavan Yudhisho Lapanir Vismapita Sagirijo Astram Adan Nijam me Anyepi chaham amunaiva kalevarena.
अन्येऽपि चाहमनुमैव कलैवरेण
Apto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadashanardham.
प्राप्तो
प्राप्तो
महेन्द्रभवने
महदासनार्थं
It was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus he became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me, and in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half elevated seat.
So, devotee, as a devotee, he got so many opportunities because of his connection with Krishna. It was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish Lord Shiva. He defeated Lord Shiva. And also he didn't offend, by the way. When he defeated, he didn't offend because he's a devotee, right? In the way he conducted himself. The daughter of, thus he became pleased with me and awarded his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me. So he achieved all of this because of his devotion to Krishna. And in addition, I was able to reach, he was able to go to heavenly planets in the same material body of the earthly planet. And he was seated by the side of Indra. Generally, no mortal, humans of earthly planets will ever have the opportunity to go there. But all of this, he completely attributes all of this to Krishna's mercy and nothing else. So that is how a devotee conducts himself, always. He never thinks anything belongs to him. Clearly understands, because as I mentioned, the devotee understands one thing. He doesn't need to have any skills. He doesn't need any opulences, any name or fame to go back to Godhead. When Krishna gives any of this, a special skill or a special, opulence, the only purpose is to be used in the service of Lord. And it can be given and it can be taken by Lord any moment. So I remember when I was talking to a devotee about, he writes books very well. So he always told me, he's my close friend, he always told me that I was, I don't know. So Krishna is giving me this, this potency to write books. So many ideas to come to my mind, and I put them just in writing. I don't know how long this power will last in me, but as long as it is there, I want to use in the service of Lord. I always wondered. I thought, once you are a author, you are an author. That's it. That's like your profession. I thought like that. But he was always mindful. This special prerogative is not, it's not my ability. It is the Lord's mercy that I'm able to write like this at this pace. We can see in the life of so many devotees, they all have these special abilities and they use that primarily in serving Lord. Please read.
The instances described by Arjuna during his friendly dealings with Lord Sri Krishna are instructive for all who may be convinced by the lessons that one can achieve all favors simply by pleasing the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Whereas the devotees or worshippers of the demigods may achieve only partial benefits which are also perishable, just as the demigods themselves are.
Suppose we worship demigods, we may get some temporary benefits. But if you worship Krishna, for example, in the case of Arjuna, he was even given the seat by the side of demigod, the king of demigods, Indra, which is not possible for a worshipper of demigod. So that is what Prabhupada is saying. So worshipping Krishna is far superior, even in terms of achieving material benefits. Yeah.
Another significance of the present verse is that Arjuna, by the grace of Lord Sri Krishna, was able to reach the heavenly planet even with the self-same body and was honored by the heavenly demigod Indradeva, being seated with him half elevated. One can reach the heavenly planets by the pious acts recommended in the Shastras in the category of fruitive activities.
But what is the use of such fruitive activities? Right? So they're all temporary. But without doing any of that, Arjuna was able to get the position by the side of Lord Indra. So this is Shamukan Prabhu here? Or here? Okay. Can you read this translation, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Lord Shiva continued, any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as the living entity, is actually very dear to me.
So these are the words of Lord Shiva to Prachetas. I was telling the other day. So Prachetas did not even worship Lord Shiva. They didn't even worship Lord Shiva. They were, worshipping Vasudeva, But being pleased with their demeanor, he was going around and he just comes by to see Prachetas, and he mentions this. Any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Lord Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as the living entity, is actually very, very dear to me. So many people think, oh, you should either worship Krishna or Shiva. They are two opposite parties. But here Lord Shiva clearly says, in fact, if you see the worshippers of Lord Shiva, like Jarasandha, Ravana, what did they want? First thing is, they worship Lord Shiva by offering their body in sacrifice, or growing some kind of very notorious austerities they perform. And when finally Lord Shiva appears before them, not being able to see their pain, they ask benedictions like, I put my hand and that person should become Bhashma, right? Bhashmashura. Or I get the power, like I will never die, or I get the power of all the planetary systems. So Lord Shiva is generally never pleased with his own devotees. Even though he may offer benedictions out of duty, but here he comes without even asking to the devotees of Lord Vasudeva, being pleased with their demeanor. Right? So there is never a competition between the devotees of the Lord. So here it says, Lord Shiva, you're all the sons of King Prachini Barhi, and I wish all the good fortune to you. I also know what you are going to do, and therefore I am visible to you just to show my mercy upon you. Any person who is surrendered to Supreme Lord, Krishna, controller of everything, is actually very dear to me. A person who executes his occupational duty properly. So here now he clarifies the qualifications of Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 births becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma. And if he becomes more qualified, he can approach Lord Shiva. A person who is directly surrendered to Lord Krishna or Vishnu in unalloyed devotion service is immediately promoted to the spiritual planets. Lord Shiva and other demigods attain these planets after the destruction of this material world. So here we see Brahma and then Shiva and then the position of devotees who attain Vaikuntha planets.
So the position of the devotee is greater than Lord Shiva, Prabhuji.
I mean, Lord Shiva himself is a devotee. That Vaishnavanam Yata Sambho. See, Lord Shiva is a servant god. He is an expansion of Lord Krishna himself, but he is tinged with the mode of ignorance, right? Shambhu Tattva. Mainly for the operations within the material world, material realm, Lord Shiva was created. The same personality transformed, because in the material existence, there needs to be the material creation, right? That requires the combination of both Shakti, Durga, and the material potency of the Lord, which is Lord Shiva. So Maheshwara, so Brahma Samhita clearly explains, in many verses. This relation between 44, around 40th verse. Lowest of all is located Devi Dham, mundane world. Next above is Mahesh Dham, the abode of Mahesh. Above Mahesh Dham is placed Haridham. And above them all is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the Brahma. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, destroying agency of the mundane world. I adore. Primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance to with whose will Durga conducts her. This is about Durga, but her husband is Shiva. It is explained in the next few verses. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the actions of acid, but yet the effect curd is neither the same as nor different from its cause, milk. So I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of work of destruction in the material world. The light of one candle being communicated to other candles although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. This is about the incarnations of Lord. This is about Mahavishnu. This is about Ganesha. There is one other verse I am trying to search for. Yeah, anyway, I think we got an idea of relation. So
Yes.
it is the same Lord, just a transformation for the purpose of material creation and maintenance and destruction. So one is never going to displease demigods by worshipping Krishna, right? So worship of Krishna is all encompassing. From all these verses, it is very clear. Even the experience of great devotees tells the same. Like Arjuna, he was simply a worshipper of Krishna, or a devotee of Krishna, but he is able to please Lord Shiva. He got benediction from him. He got the seat by the side of Indra. He gets the entry into heavenly planets. He is never a direct worshipper of any of them. So being a devotee of Lord Krishna is all encompassing. We don't need a separate exclusive worship of any other demigods. In fact, demigods are more pleased when one worships Lord directly. That is what we read in the other verse, 4:24-28, correct? Lord Shiva is just happy and pleased to see Prachetas, right? Sons of Prachini Barhi. He was just wanted to come and see them. While all these Rakshasas, they perform severe austerities like cutting their nose, cutting their body flesh to get the audience of Lord Shiva. But Prachetas are just meditating on Lord Krishna, and they gets a free darshan of Lord Shiva and the guidance of Lord Shiva and assurance that they are doing the right thing. So that's the difference between devotees of Lord Shiva versus devotees of Lord Krishna. Tatraiva me viharato bhujadandayugmam.
Tatraiva
Gandiva lakshanam arati vadhaya deva.
Gandiva-lakshanam aradvadaya deva.
Sendrashita yad anubhavitam ajamidha.
Sendrashita yad-anubhavitam ajamidha.
Tenaham adya mushita purushena bhumna.
Tenahamadya mushita purushena bhumana.
When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets, all the heavenly demigods, including King Indradeva, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with the Gandiva bow, to kill the demon named Nivatta Kavacha. O King, descendant of Ajamida, at the present moment, I am bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful.
So he even protected demigods. He got even so much powers that he could even safeguard demigods from Nivata Kavacha. So sometimes, people think devotees don't have any mystic powers. So the story of Privrata is very interesting in this context. Right? So he does amazing things. A devotee who has, my dear king, a devotee who has taken shelter of the dust from the lotus feet of the Lord can transcend the influence of the 6 material waves, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. And he can conquer the mind and 5 senses. However, this is not very wonderful for a pure devotee of the Lord, because even a person beyond the jurisdiction of the 4 castes, in other words, an untouchable, is immediately relieved of bondage to material existence if he utters the holy name of Lord even once. Is a glorification of the holy name, which we chant every day. You see the power of the holy name. By the way, actually, this my real purpose was to show the story of Maharaj Priyavrata. Maharaj Priyavrata is a great devotee of Lord. He wanted to just take sannyas and not deal with material world, but upon the request of Brahma and other superiors, he actually accepts kingdom. So as part of that, he kind of gets attached to the material opulences. But again, towards the end of life, he gives up all the attachments. So the main lesson is, even though a devotee gets attached, and by the way, he does many surprising things in his while he was ruling. He does many mystical things, many mystical things. The story is detailed in this chapter. So he, for example, he is the one who creates the 7 islands that we see on the Earth planet. And at one point, he creates a planet equivalent to sun, so that he wanted to have light all around the day. Like he does many such things. So that is all possible for a pure devotee. That's what the main point here is. Right? A devotee is not bereft of any mysticism. He can do that, but generally devotees don't go for that. See here, creates these 7 islands. His sons all become Manus. That is his lineage. Anyway. Yeah, see, the Lord is all powerful, and by his grace, his pure devotee can be as powerful as he may desire. That is the point. I remembered Priyavrata, the story of Priyavrata. And there is no limit to it. And when the Lord withdraws his power from anyone, he is powerless by the will of the Lord. So the devotee is not disappointed when he loses his opulences, because the only purpose of opulences is not to show off himself, it is to serve Lord. So if the purpose is over, it will be taken away from him. That's what the devotee is understanding. Being a devotee, he is not disturbed by such changes, the material changes. The material powers are given to serve Lord, and when the purpose is done, they will be taken away also sometimes. So in this case, he was just remembering how everything that he had was, Arjuna had, like this, the fighting with, Nivata Kavacha. So all of that abilities were actually given by Lord himself. And when Lord, taken away after their purpose is done, he was just remembering that, how all of this was actually given to me by Lord himself. Let's read the translations. These are all similar verses. Okay, can anyone read?
The military strength of Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelt many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it. And only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance.
So if you look at the flanks of Kauravas, they're almost double the size of Pandavas. Anybody who sees the military strength, nobody expects Pandavas to win. But it was only possible by the presence of Lord Krishna on the side of Pandavas that they were able to win this war. So that's what he was remembering here. So next 3 verses are related to this Kurukshetra war.
Prabhuji, here why he is mentioning cows?
Yeah, so when they were in Virata, incognito, right? They were there for 1 year before coming out of incognito, right? That was the last, the last year they have to remain in incognito. At that time, the Kauravas just they went to Virata kingdom and they tried to steal the cows from there, large numbers of cows. They just wanted to take away cows from them. That is how the nature of the Kauravas are. So at that time, Arjuna, he was there, so he actually fights against these Kauravas and defeats all of them, including Karna was defeated in that fight. So there are many people think Karna and Arjuna were equal, but there are at least 3 or 4 incidents before the actual war where Karna was defeated by Arjuna. So it is not just because of like incident of Arjuna shooting down on Karna at a weak moment that people consider as something immoral in the as per the codes of war. But actually, he defeated Karna at least 3 times. One of them is this in the Virat kingdom, when the Kauravas tried to to steal the cows. They were protected by Arjuna and other Pandavas. Bhima and Arjuna, they defeat everybody. So Arjuna fought with them incognito and was able to regain the cows. So even though it appears, it's just Arjuna's prowess that he was able to do all of these things, Arjuna always is mindful. All of this is 100% Krishna's mercy upon me. You see, that is a devotee's heart. So that is a key lesson we have to learn from this chapter and these verses. Everything we do, ordinary activities ascribed to, that's what I sent the verse, right? If you read those words, these are very powerful statements. Firm faith in the blissful narrations of the past, of my pastimes, constant chanting of my glories, unwavering attachment to ceremonial worship of me, praising me through beautiful hymns, great respect for my devotional service, means respect for devotees, respect for everything related to service of Krishna, offering obeisances with the entire body, performing first-class worship of my devotees. You see, this is a very important aspect. Conscious of me in all living entities, offering of ordinary bodily activities in my devotion. See, this is what Arjuna is doing. Offering of ordinary bodily activities in my devotions. Everything he does, he thinks it is mercy of Krishna. It is mercy of Krishna. This is by mercy of Krishna I did this. All good he ascribes to Krishna. Use of words to describe my qualities, offering the mind to me, rejection of material desires, giving up wealth for my devotion service, renouncing material sense gratification and happiness, and performing all desirable activities such as charity, sacrifice, chanting, vows, and austerities with the purpose of achieving me. These constitute actual religious principles by which those human beings who have actually surrendered themselves to me automatically develop love to me. What other purpose or goal could remain for my devotee? Yeah. Yeah, so this we read. Okay, let's read to last 2 verses. Yeah, please read.
It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculative power and the strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by Kauravas headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, and Salya, etc. Their arrangements were expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this.
See, Krishna's mercy upon his devotee. He decided the war beforehand, in spite of all the great material arrangements by the opposite party. They were all defeated, right? These people are the greatest warriors at the time.
They were
Bhishma,
undefeated before, yeah.
undefeatable, Drona, Shalya.
Yes.
So one can see the mercy of Lord through all these incidents, right? Please read.
As the Supreme Lord, he can increase or decrease the duration of life of a living being. Thus, the Lord conducted the battle of Kurukshetra according to his own plan. He wanted that battle to establish Yudhishthir as an emperor of this planet. And to facilitate this transcendental business, he killed all who were on the opposite party by his omnipotent will.
Yeah. So by his will, he killed all of them.
Yeah. But because Arjun was Lord's affectionate devotee, the Lord did all this himself without personal anxiety by Arjun. That is the way of the devotional service to the Lord.
Please read.
Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Purishrava, Susharma, Shalya, Jayadrat, and Bhalik all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair of my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of the Lord Nrsimhadev, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him.
Just like Prahlad Maharaj was protected by Nrsimhadev, by Lord Nrsimhadev, even from his own father. So similarly, Arjuna was protected from all these, invincible weapons thrown at him by all these great warriors at Arjuna. In fact, as soon as the war was over and both Arjuna and Krishna came down of the chariot broke into pieces, small pieces.
Burned out. Yes.
Yeah, burned out because of the effect of all the weapons that were thrown at him, which were, invincibly protected by Lord until now. So all of that came into effect all of a sudden, and the chariot broke down in no time. So that is the protection and mercy of Lord. We have to be so grateful. Even Lord is protecting all of us at every moment right now. So we need to recognize and see that aspect. So this is nursing the pastime was explained by Prabhupada in the purport here. So Prabhupada goes into in depth about the stories here behind all of this. So this is a very nice verse. Let me read. Sauchevrita kumatinatma the Ishvaro me.
Sauchevrita Padmam abhavayo bhajanti bhavya. Mam shantavaham arayo ratino bhuvistam. Praharan yad anubhava nirashta chitta. The Pada Padmam Avavaya Bhajanti Bhavya. Yeah, please read.
It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation.
Arjuna leveraged Lord as a chariot driver. However, the same Lord is actually worshipped by sages. Yat Pada Padma Abhavaya Bhajanti Bhavya. They worship the lotus feet of the Lord to achieve liberation. The same Lord I have used like in my chariot driver. So he was just morose about how he has used Lord. And because of him, so at one point he had to feed his horses water. So at that time he descended the chariot, but because of Lord's mercy, nobody actually attacked him. They could have killed him at the time. So he attributes all of this to Krishna and his protection. So we'll end here.
This chapter is very good, Prabhuji. Each verse is having a different story, which many things we don't know.